know what you call the only Type 9C German U-boat left in existence?
German U-boat.
America's.
America has
Today
a
we're talking about the
U-boat.
time that America stole an entire German submarine and then stuck it in the middle of Chicago. I mean, when America strategically transferred a piece of equipment to an alternate location. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Warwood Tools, a family-owned business that for over 160 years has been making sledgehammers and axes right out of West Virginia using American 1060 high-carbon steel. And to this day, they still make all their tools using World War II era drop hammer forging. So if you want some tools that are going to outlast you, I would recommend Warwood Tools, and I'll have them linked in the description down below. Moving on. Okay, important context in case you don't know. During World War II, American supply lines to the European theater were absolutely devastated by German U-boats, aka submarines. These German U-boats are credited with sinking over 2,700 American ships, totaling in over 14 million tons of American ships and supplies that were put at the bottom of the ocean. Because of this, America would form what is known as hunter.
I know since I started making these reaction videos, I have generally learned one rule. Don't mess with America's boats. Don't touch the boats. That's a cardinal sin that they're committing already. No.
Killer groups, task forces of American ships who were sent out, and their entire job was to hunt and destroy these enemy submarines. Because that's just how America gets down. We don't believe in self-defense, we believe in self-offense. It's way more efficient. And that's pretty much all the context you need. So, April 4th, 1944, a hunter-killer group known as Task Force...
Before we go, guys, thank you for stopping by my channel. Thank you for watching this video with me. I just saw this video on his channel and people in my comments spoke about it. I will do this for other people who spoke about other videos. I will check them out and I'll also upload them. Over here, the internet connection is very weak, so I do try to look at the videos that I might upload in a certain day so that the internet is not going to disturb me if the video is long or something. So thank you for stopping by to watch this video with me. I know that you probably watched it, but I promise you we are going to enjoy it. If you have not, African guy just reacting to American, I don't know what, the American ingenuity. These guys are powerful, smart, rich, I mean creative. They just, I can't say too much. Let's go check it out. Please subscribe and leave a comment. I do love it, guys. Please, I love something. Many people are encouraging me in the comment, and that's giving me a lot of energy, okay, to do this. And I am very grateful for those people, for the ones that are explaining, for the ones that are just being kind with kind words. Thank you, guys. For the ones that are correcting me, thank you. I am actually an engineering student, and I think I do have a bit of knowledge when it comes to physics stuff, but military, I don't. So thank you. Let's go watch.
22.3 would set out, engage, and destroy the German U-boat 515. Absolutely everything went according to plan. Nothing was out of the ordinary. They hit it with depth charges, critically wounding the submarine, forcing it to surface one last time to allow the crew to escape before the submarine would sink below the ocean waves forever. But it was on this particular day that the American commander Daniel Gallery would take unique notice of the fact that the German submarines always surfaced to allow their crew to escape, and he decided that he was going to do something unprecedented, something that no American sailor had done since 1815. He was going to send out a boarding party and steal that enemy submarine. He immediately puts a plan into action, assembling two separate boarding parties, each to be comprised of one officer and 8 enlisted men. And these 8 enlisted men are going to be the top 8 guys that you would absolutely want on hand to be able to address any problem that could arise with keeping this submarine from sinking to the ocean floor. People like the electrician, the machinist, the boatswain's mate, the torpedo technician, oh, and the photographer. Yeah, one of the 8 people going on the extremely dangerous and important mission is going to be a photographer, because, you know,
I'm not understanding. This is it. There's submarine that is almost sinking, and they're bringing a photographer along. Yeah, I bet the photographer might just be a soldier too. Yeah, because military photographers, and he's also gangster along along with his buddies.
Picks or it didn't happen, right? America's about to do some gangster shit. You best believe we're going to designate somebody to stand in the corner with the camera and yell "World Star" while we do it. June 1st, 1944, Task Force 22.3 receives intel that there's an enemy submarine operating off the coast of Africa. That submarine would turn out to be U-Boat 505, and they would head to it immediately. And this poor U-boat has absolutely no idea what's coming for it, because at this point in time, this task force is comprised of the flagship and escort carrier, the USS Guadalcanal, as well as 5 destroyer escorts, the USS Pope, the Pillsbury, the Jinx, the Chatelaine, and the Flaherty. And if you don't know what a destroyer escort is, at this point in time, it is a ship that has one job and one job only, and that is to fuck up enemy submarines. Okay, this hunter-killer group is rolling up on this U-boat like Debo on a beach cruiser. Somebody's about to have a bad day, and it's probably not going to be them.
Oh, shit.
June 4th, 1944, after 3 days of chasing down this U-boat, they would finally catch up to it, and the USS Guadalcanal would immediately scramble 2 Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighters as the rest of the destroyer escorts made their way towards the submarine. U-boat 505 was already submerged and underwater, but the Grumman F-4F Wildcat pilots are able to see the long dark shadow of the submarine underneath the water because it's broad daylight. And once they confirm that it is in fact an enemy submarine, the destroyer escorts begin loading their hedgehogs to fire upon it. If you don't know what a hedgehog is, it is the most feared anti-submarine weapon in all of World War II. It is like a fully automatic mortar capable of firing over a wide area. Once these mortars hit the water, they can plunge into the depths of the ocean at 33 feet per second, and as soon as they make impact with anything, they will explode and destroy it. The hedgehogs would detonate early, not scoring a direct hit, but still rocking and damaging the submarine, jamming its propeller, and putting out its lights. Quickly realizing they hadn't done enough damage, the destroyer escorts above would begin launching depth charges. The depth charges would rupture the hull of U-Boat 505, and the entire submarine would be forced to surface one last time as a hatch would open and all the German sailors would begin flooding out onto its deck and into life.
I mean, I just stopped for no reason. This it's like the Fat Electrician is going too quick. I cannot really follow him. Like, what's up with these Americans? How do they even know there's a submarine down there? Yeah, I know they have technology that detects it, but look at the days in those, like, back then, World War II. That's huge. Oh, is it World War I? I don't know. Let's go, guys.
At this point, the American boarding party grabbed their Tommy guns, hopped in their whaling boat, and made their way over to the submarine. They received no resistance from the Germans as they made their way down the hatch into the sub and began working on it to try to save it. Okay, time out. I need to make sure that you fully grasp how ridiculous what these 9 Americans are about to do actually is. Okay, you have a German U-boat that is so critically damaged that the 50 men that have been living on this U-boat, that have been trained on this U-boat has controls in their language and in their units of measurement. And they have decided cumulatively that, hey, this thing is so damaged that we need to run for our lives. And then while they were evacuating, they would also place scuttling charges, which are large explosive devices that detonate, ensuring that the ship sinks so that America can't retrieve it. So not only is the situation so bad that 50 of them can't fix it, but they made the situation worse on their way out. And you now have 9 Americans, one of which is a fucking camera guy, going in there to do what they couldn't pull off. This mission is seemingly impossible and borderline insane, but they do it anyways because America. So they get inside the sub and begin going to work immediately. The torpedo technicians and ordnance officers begin defusing scuttling charges as the electricians go to work at trying to get the bilge pumps back up and running to pump water out of the submarine. And the damage control men and the machinists begin working on plugging holes and getting the motor back up and running. And while all of this is going on, the officer in charge of the American boarding party, Lieutenant Albert David, notices that the submarine is sinking so fast that there is
just look at look at the guy, look at this guy. The amount of guts that you need to have to just instinctively think of this, like, I can bet this was not in their mission planning. I bet this was not part of the deal. And just for him to just on the move think that this is something I should just do it and get into it, and he is doing it without thinking twice. This is a very this is a good example of when they say your chain of command is decentralized. That means that the officers, they have the right to improvise, and you should never push Americans to improvise. Never push officers to improvise, especially non-commissioned officers. When you push them to improvise, their day and days are pretty much numbered.
There's now water pouring into the open hatch on top, and it is at this moment that he has to make a split decision. He either has to get his men out and save their lives, or he has to shut the hatch and give them more time to work. But if they can't pull it off, they are all going to die in that submarine. And without thinking twice, he closes the hatch. A few minutes later, the second boarding party would board U-boat 505, and they would attempt to open the hatch to get inside the submarine and help. But the sinking submarine had created such a powerful vacuum that it was impossible. So they did the next best thing. They got a tow line, tied the U-boat 505 to the USS Guadalcanal as the USS Guadalcanal began towing the now sinking U-boat. Feeling that they were now moving, the Americans on the inside had an ingenious idea. You see, the U-boat didn't have enough power for anything but lights. They were running entirely on batteries. The reason they didn't have power is because the propeller was jammed, and the propeller was jammed because they couldn't get the motor going again. So what they did was they disconnected the drive shaft between the motor and the propeller, allowing the propeller to free spin in the current of the USS Guadalcanal as it's being towed. This would turn the alternator, generating power and giving the U-boat enough power to activate its bilge pumps and begin pumping water out of it. I cannot stress to you enough how fucking genius this was to do. This saved all of their lives for sure, and to be able to have the knowledge and wisdom to come up with a solution like that while you're actively fucking dying in a tin can under the ocean is incredible. So things are already looking up, but at a minimum they have to get that hatch back open so that the first boarding crew can escape if they absolutely need to. So the second boarding crew with their Tommy guns proceeds to pluck one of the Germans out of their life raft and force him, persuade him to activate the pressure valve, which is going to equalize the pressure inside and outside the sub, allowing them to open the hatch door. That happens, and the second boarding crew gets inside and also gets to work. And all this is going on, and there's 50 Germans sitting out there in life rafts like, fuck. Like, what do you do in that situation? You have just been outclassed on every conceivable level. Like, you were in combat, they damaged your ship to the point that you couldn't fix it, so then you tried to rage quit and blow up your own ship, and then they're like, no, I've changed my mind. And then they went in there and made it so you couldn't even sink your own ship. At this point, the rest of the task force goes around plucking all the Germans out of their life rafts because they are now prisoners of war, as Commander Gallery comes to the conclusion, fuck it, we're just gonna have to tow this sinking submarine while it's actively sinking all the way to the nearest American port, and we're just going to have sailors in there working 24/7 around the clock to try to keep it above the waterline. Not a terrible plan, but the only problem is they're like 150 miles off the coast of Africa, and the nearest American port is 2,500 miles away, and if that wasn't bad enough, it's in fucking Bermuda, you know, where the whole triangle thing is. I mean, the disrespect with this is absolutely palpable. Could you imagine being one of these Germans sitting there like, not only are you not allowed to sink your own ship, you're not even allowed to rage quit. The Americans come in, steal your shit, and now they're gonna joyride it through the Bermuda Triangle and not even lose it just to flex on you like that? It's ridiculous. So they get everything buttoned up and they get underway.
And that was a super flex. And Americans blew up this submarine. It was about to sink, and they said, oh, no, we're not going to sink it, we're going to take it home. And the Germans, on leaving the submarine, they rigged it with charges for it to sink. And the Americans are like, hell no. This submarine is almost dead. And then they proceeded to carry the submarine 2,500 miles back home. Americans. That's
headed out to Bermuda. At which point, a couple days later, the commander of the German submarine wakes up in the infirmary on the USS Guadalcanal. Apparently, he had been hit in the head and lost consciousness for a number of days. At which point, Commander Gallery comes down to have a conversation with him, and he's like, hey, here's the deal. We stole your sub. We're towing it to the Bermuda Triangle for a joyride. It's gonna be great. The German commander absolutely refuses to believe him. He's like, that's not possible. I had 50 dudes. They weren't able to save that sub. We scuttled it on the way out for insurance. There's no way that you managed to keep that sub from sinking. At which point, Commander Gallery is like, oh, well, Here's all the shit from your office that's distinctly not waterlogged. Also, if you look out the window, we're towing your submarine behind us right now. At which point, the German officer completely loses his shit. He starts crying. He's completely inconsolable. He's like, when my chain of command finds out that this happened, they're going to torture me, and then they're going to kill me. Or the other way.
And by the way, where is your chain of command? Where are you going to meet them, by the way? You are here as a prisoner. Think about your chain of command. Like, where are you going to meet your chain of command?
Around. I don't know. This is absolutely terrible. But Commander Gallery, being the cool guy that he is, he's like, hey, buddy, pal, friend, you're going to sit in a nice POW camp for the duration of the war. We're going to win, and by the time you get to go back home, you're not going to have a chain of command, and all of your leadership infrastructure is going to be completely dismantled. I wouldn't worry about it. Didn't really make him feel better, but I thought it was funny. Now, so they're still making their way towards that big triangle thing, but pulling this submarine and keeping it from taking on water is a constant struggle, and it's starting to look like they're not going to be able to keep enough water out of this submarine long enough to get it all the way to Bermuda. So, they start interviewing Germans, trying to find one with technical knowledge that would be willing to help them keep it afloat. And that is when they come across a young German sailor by the name of Felix Ewald, and he would inform them that not only is he not German, he's definitely not a Nazi, and he's certainly not a fan.
You know, when I watch this type of videos, there's something that goes through my mind, and what goes through my mind is when we are asleep, when you're busily sleeping, there are people out there doing a lot, okay? In the high seas, on the mountains, in the rivers, in the air, people are doing so much in constantly fighting to make sure that you sleep peacefully. People are awake to make sure that you sleep. And one thing that I'm grateful for is that no matter those who hate America, who say whatever they say, America is largely responsible for preventing a world war. Yeah. I think they ended the Second World War. I don't know about World War One, but their strength of technology, economy, military has largely stopped other people from acting silly. And this really gives me peace sometimes. No matter all those dictators out there who talk about how powerful they are. You know, a few weeks back when Iran was showing off their missiles, how they were going to respond to America if they are attacked and stuff like that. And it basically took one evening for B2 spirits to walk over there and show the Iranians that, hey, this is what we are up to and this is what we can do. Like, they basically just blow off everything. Israel took one day to just take out their whole military top brass. Guys, I'm getting a bit sidelined. Let's go.
He was conscripted when the Nazis invaded Poland, and he was basically being forced to be there, and that if America wanted help, he was happy to do so. So he would immediately go to work helping the Americans keep the submarine afloat the entire time as they traveled back to Bermuda. As the remaining German POWs began asking questions, what happened to Felix? What happened to Ewald? Where's Ewald? And they began looking for him every chance they got, searching everywhere they could find him. The Americans had told him that they killed him, but they didn't believe it because they knew he was Polish too. So they just kept looking and looking, scanning everywhere. And this would be the inspiration for the childhood book, Where's Waldo? I'm just kidding, I made that part up. Anyways, with the help of Felix, they managed to tow this submarine all the way to Bermuda. They get it fixed up. It's definitely not going to sink, at which point they get to go in and really start looking at what intel they had managed to gather. And holy shit, there is an up-to-date, active Enigma cipher machine on board. This is what the Germans were using to send all their secret military communications, and it could prove absolutely invaluable. They also had a bunch
Enigma machine. I never heard of that.
of up-to-date ciphers and a bunch of other documents that were deemed so important that they were printed on water-soluble paper so that if the boat did sink and these documents got wet, they would completely disintegrate and be unrecoverable. It is at this point that the American leadership decides the Germans have to think that this boat went down and everyone died. We cannot let them know that we have this information because now we're going to be able to decode all of their secret transmissions and we don't want them to change the code. So they take U-Boat 505, they actually paint it to look like an American submarine and then start referring to it as the USS Nemo, which if you don't know is Latin for no one. They then take
USS Nemo, USS Nobody, America.
all the German POWs from U-Boat 505, send them to Louisiana, where they are going to be completely segregated from all the other POWs, so nobody knows who they are or where they came from. All the American sailors are then ordered to turn over all of the souvenirs that they gathered out of U-Boat 505 and to shut the fuck up about it. And as far as
I sure they freak up about it. Never talk about it.
anyone on the planet needs to be concerned, this U-boat is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, 150 miles off the coast of Africa. Nobody can know that we have this. But if those Germans weren't allowed to write home through the Red Cross, that's technically a Geneva Convention violation. But first of all, when you're on the winning side, those aren't actually rules, they're more like suggestions.
The code is
America.
called guidelines than actual rules.
Secondly, let's just be honest here. If you were a POW in World War II and the worst thing that happened to you is you weren't allowed to write home while you were being well fed and treated with dignity.
I would say one thing, okay, and I might just be naive. I think that with any normal soldier, it would be a prayer that if you're ever captured in combat, you should be captured by the Americans. I think they do everything possible to keep you safe, okay? They will treat you way better than any other country would treat you. I know that for a fact. No, it's not for a fact, but that's what I feel.
You came out on top. All right, so somehow the United States manages to keep this thing a complete secret until May 7th, 1945, when Germany issues their unconditional surrender. And it is at this point that the smack talking can now commence, because now we are going to take this submarine, you know, the only remaining Type 9C German sub left on the planet, even though they manufactured hundreds, we sunk all of them, except for this one. Now we're going to drive that bitch to Philadelphia and use it to raise funds, and anybody that buys a bunch of war bonds
Drive a submarine to Philadelphia, as in, is there a water canal, like, I don't know, like they move through a river into the Philadelphia, or how did they drive a submarine to Philadelphia?
can get a guided tour of this German sub, because a lot of people quit buying war bonds after Germany surrendered because they thought the war was coming to an end and we were still fighting the war in the Pacific against the Japanese, so this was like a huge fundraising opportunity, and that's exactly what they did. They sold a ton of war bonds. As soon as that started slowing down, hey, we'll tow it to another major US city. They towed it up to New York. Then New York bought a bunch of war bonds. And then World War II would finally come to an end when Japan issued their unconditional surrender, and now we've got this German submarine and we don't know what to do with it. So the US government does what the US government do, and they're like, hear me out, what if we shot nuclear bombs at it for science?
Somebody recommended a video, Operation Plum Bob. I checked the videos quite a bit longer and I've not watched it. I'm definitely going to do a reaction video on that.
At which point, Commander Gallery, who's now an admiral, chimes in and is like, no, I stole that thing fair and square, we're keeping it. So he ends up orchestrating a deal with the city of Chicago where the US government will donate the submarine to the city of Chicago as long as the city pays to have it shipped all the way there. And that's exactly what happens. They took a Type 9C German submarine, the whole thing, in one piece, and put it in Chicago, you know, like the major city that's the most inland of any other city in America. It's literally fucking
In what? In Chicago? How did they get in there? How would they get a submarine to Chicago? I don't know the American geography, but to me it sounds like it is not beside the sea. So how do they get a submarine to Chicago?
two Germanys into America. Yes, that is to scale. An incredible logistical feat is the icing on the cake for one of the most amazing and utterly disrespectful stories to ever come out of World War II. And I'm happy to say that if you would ever like to go see U-Boat 505, you still can, because it is still in Chicago today at the museum.
Look at that. Looking very good, man. These guys are crazy. How did they get it in here? How did they get this thing in here?
Of Science and Industry, where it currently sits as a proud member of the second largest navy on the planet, America's fleet of museum ships. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
On June 19th, the U-505 was towed into Bermuda, and there remains as a prize of war, one less wolf to hunt with the pack.
You know what you call the only type?
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. I am so grateful for anybody that has watched and reached this stage of the video. I am always very grateful for people who watch to the end. These guys' videos are very, very addicting. I mean, you need to put an effort to not watch them. You don't need to put an effort to watch them. You need to try your best to not watch them, because once you start watching, you cannot stop watching. So guys, thank you so much. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I will be very grateful. Thank you. Dear citizens of the world, love you from Africa.